بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So inshallah we are moving on to حرفا التفسير, the two particles of tafsir. Okay, so we are now in the last qism, which is regarding harf. We have already discussed the huruf al-jar, the huruf mushabbahatun bil fa'l, the huruf al-atf, huruf al-tanbih, huruf al-nida, huruf al-ijab, huruf al-ziyada. We've reached until here. Now we are discussing the harfa at-tafsir. There are two harfs of tafsir. So faslun, harfa at-tafsir, ay wa an. Ay and an are two particles which are used to clarify, to give more detail and give more information. And we'll discuss each in detail, inshallah. So he says, فَأَيْ. So أي كقوله تعالى واسأل القرية أي أهل القرية. So the example is not really in the Quranic verse. The example is in the whole part. So if you were to say, for example, like this, you were to say واسأل القرية أي أهل القرية. If you were to say this, then this is a harf al-tafsir. It's harf al-tafsir. So واسأل القرية أي أهل القرية. This is now the tafsir of. Okay. Okay. Yes, so it's the tafsir of the qarya. So كأنك قلت. So when you say أي أهل التفسير, it's as if you have said تفسيره. This is like تفسيره أهل القرية. Okay. You got it? You follow? Okay. Okay. Now what he's saying here is that the particle I, what is it used for? يفسر بها المفرد. You can use, so for example, layth is mufassar, the thing you are explaining, and now as a mufrad. Okay. Okay. Wal jumla, you can also use the word I to do tafsir. So in here, istaktamtuhu al-haditha ay sa'altuhu kitmanahu. So this I is doing tafsir of a whole jumla. Okay, it's explaining the whole jumla. So the I can be used for both mufrad and it can also be used for jumla. You can use I in between both of them. Now regarding an, wa an innama yufassaru biha fa'lun bima'na al-qawl. كقوله تعالى وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم فلا يقال قلناه عن إذ هو لفظ القول لا معناه. We've done this many times before, that when the particle an is used for quotation. When it's an is tafsiriyya, it's used for quotation when there's a meaning of qawl, not the word qawl. So whenever you have any verb or any sentence which has a quotation and you want to bring the quotation, you may bring an tafsiriyya. Yes? But you cannot bring an tafsiriyya when you have the root letters qaf, waw, lam. Whether it's madhi, mudari, amr, you can't have an then. So you can't say qulna, qulnahu, an. So basically saying here, look, nadaynahu an ya Ibrahim. This is a verb. Yes? This is ma'na al-qawl. It has a meaning of to say, to quote. Yes? Duna lafdhihi. The word qawala, qaf, waw, lam. That ishtiqaq is not being used. So we can say here, وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَيْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَيْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ. So نَادَيْنَاهُ, we call unto him. Quotation, Ya Ibrahim. Yes? But you can't say, قُلْنَا Ya Ibrahim. We can't say, قُلْنَا. We said that an ya Ibrahim. We can't say this. Why? Because qulna is actually lafzul qawl. So the word qawl does not have the an masdariyah after it. Understood? Yes? So فَلَا يُقَالُ قُلْنَاهُ أَن. We can't say قُلْنَاهُ أَن ya Ibrahim. Since huwa lafzul qawl, since the word qala is actually qawl, not the meaning of qawl. Okay? Yes? Yes, understood? Yes? Now we're saying here, an can only be used to tafsir of a jumla. You can't use an to do tafsir of a mufrad. For example, وَنَادَى أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ an. So again, this an is equal to the speech marks or whatever. And we are allowed to have that an because this is معنى القول, a meaning of a verb which has quotes and it's not the word قول itself. معنى القول دون لفظه دون لفظه. Okay? Yes? Now, you must have قول معنى القول. Yes, not lafz. You can also have nida and kitaba. كتبت إليه أن يفعل كذا. So kataba is not, when we say معنى القول, meaning in English, anything that you have a quote, where you quote something. So if you have كتبت إليه, you can have that as well. Yes? And it has to be a kalam tam before it, meaning it has to be a complete sentence without it. So for example, وآخر دعواهم. This can't be an-tafsiriyya because what's doing tafsir of? This is آخر دعواهم مبتدا. Where's the khabar? There's no khabar. This is a khabar. Yes? So you can only have a tafsiriyya when there's a whole sentence before it, or there's a qawl before it, it's a complete jumla tam without it, meaning i'raban, it will be sahih without it. And in this example, an is mukhaffafa, because if we make this an tafsiriyya, there's not a jumla tam before it, jumla tamma before it. These are two conditions of the an tafsiriyya. It has to have ma'an al-qawl duna lafzihi, and it must be a complete sentence before it. Okay? Yes? You got it? And the third condition is وَأَلَّا تَكُونَ قَبْلَهَا حَرْفُ جَرٍ. There shouldn't be a harf jar before it. فَإِن سَبَقَهَا حَرْفُ جَرٍ تَكُونُ مَصْدَرِيًّا. If you have a harf jar before it, then it becomes masdariyya. So أَمَرْتُهُ بِأَن يَصْدُقَ بأن not يصدق أن يصدق. Yes? So here you have harf jar, so an can't be tafsiriyya. If you say for example نَادَيْنَاهُ بِأَيْن, then that ba doesn't come on a harf tafsir. It only comes on a masdariyya. So if you have a situation where you think it could be a tafsir because there's ma'na al-qawl duna lafzihi, but the an is preceded by a harf jar, then automatically you say no, it's not a harf tafsir because it has a an harf jar, it has ba harf jar before it, and harf jar cannot come on a tafsiriyya. Understood? Yes? Any questions?
Just a brief introduction to Ismul Fa'il and Ismul Maf'ul. Remember, Ismul Maf'ul, I said it does not have it's a passive, it's made from the passive element.
Because an-tafsiriyya,
again, these also.
so an-tafsiriyya is where you explain something. Yes? Now, when you have, and you have a complete sentence, and you give details of this. Now this, and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, is not doing tafsir of anything. It's not explaining a qawl. It becomes a khabar of akhiru da'wahum. That's why this an has a mukhaffafa.
Yeah, it's not a verb. So they have something else. You have al-mufrad. Mufrad means the singular. Al-muthanna means juz and jam'ul mudhakkar and jam'ul mu'annath, when they mean the plural aspect. Yeah? So this is how you write al-mufradu. Obviously al-mufrad is mudhakkar. Al-mufrad is
Okay.
You know that, we've done it before.
Okay, the question is da'wahum. Da'wah will have a quote. Yes, so because da'wah has a quote, this is ma'na al-qawl. Yes? So we say the condition is there must be a kalamun tam before it. Yes?
Oh, yes.
So this tafsir is not umdatul kalam. It's not the musnad or musnad ilay. If it becomes a musnad or musnad ilay, it becomes the khabar. Because the tafsir is like a qaid. Is za'id min haythul i'rab. The sentence can exist without it. So akhiru da'wahum is mubtada. Where's the khabar?
That's basically the same.
What's the khabar going to become?
Now, you have to put main.
Correct. So because that's a khabar, it's not an extra part. It's not beyond the umdatul kalam. It's not beyond the musnad and musnad ilay. It's part of the khabar. For example, if we had, for example, fi ghayr al-Quran, wa akhiru da'wahum مسموع. يا ملهم علي ملهم. ملهم إليهم. Their saying or their da'wah will be inspired unto them. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Alhamdulillah. Now we can say it's tafsiriyah because da'wah is ma'na al-qawl. Ma'na al-qawl duna lafzihi. Yes. And mulhamun ilayhim is a khabar. So now this is kalamun tam. Now before this, we have tafsir of the da'wah and kalam tam. So now this can be tafsiriyah, which explains what the da'wah will be. In the Quranic verse, it has to become the khabar because there's no khabar without it. And the tafsir is the tafsiriyah is only used outside of umdatul kalam, outside of the mustan and mustad ilayh, outside of the fa'il, mubtada and khabar. Yes?
Very good. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Correct.
That's how you write it. Now let's go. Fa'il, like I said, it has two meanings. Dua.
Correct. So repeat, so those who are listening can hear. The akhiru da'wahum and alhamdulillah. This an is not tafsiriyah because it becomes part of the khabar. And وَنَادَيْنَاهُ أَنْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ وَنَادَيْنَاهُ is fa'il maf'ul bihi is complete min haythu al-i'rab without the أَنْ يَا إِبْرَاهِيمُ. Therefore the an can become tafsiriyah. Okay? Understood? Any other questions?
It can. But we're just going to say no, it isn't. We don't do that. It's like very rare to see that.
But maf'ul is not umdatul kalam.
Very rare to see that, so we don't put it in the book.
So if it's a maf'ul, that's fine. If I say yad'u, that's kalam tam. Da'a yad'u, fa'il. Okay? And also remember one thing, that you can have an tafsiriyah after qawl duna lafzihi. You don't have to have it. For example, you can have here ad'ullah. You can have here da'awtullaha an ighfir li. I made dua to Allah that oh Allah forgive me. And sometimes you don't have to have the an. So you might see in some texts that is the word da'a yad'u, kana yad'ullaha, kana yad'u. Allahumma ighfir lana warhamna. There's no an tafsiriyah there. So it's like you can only have an tafsiriyah if there's lafzul qawl, ma'na al-qawl duna lafzihi before it. But every ma'na al-qawl duna lafzihi does not have to have an tafsiriyah. Do you understand? It works one way. Understood?
Yeah, if I give an estimate.
Yes.
Like, we just
Okay. السلام عليكم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك